Hello world, my name is Tim Russell. Welcome back to another game dev video. I'm the developer of a game called Battleborn Tactics, which you can wishlist down below if you're interested in buying my games, which you should be. You should be. I mean, I happen to be biased on the subject, but I think you should be. Today we're going to talk about why you shouldn't launch a game without extra time. That seems obvious, and I thought it would be, but I've had a lot of discussions lately with developers that are like, you know, just kind of taking time off, planning it. It's just not like, oh, you just make a game and you put it out there and then it's done and you're over with. That kind of seems to be the misconception with launching a game. And I think this came up because my girlfriend has a vacation scheduled the day after I launched the game, and we talked about it. She asked me if it was okay, and I was like, no, because everything goes to shit the day you launch a game. Let me just be real with you. The second you launch a game, that's when you realize how many bugs are actually in the game. No matter how many times you've tested it, no matter what kind of testing it's been through, you will find some shit that you never even thought was possible. Okay, Philophobia had an entire launch the year before, and then I added a bunch of shit and I fixed a bunch of shit and I changed a bunch of like really quality things. I added like a lot of code that was like really solid to the game to prevent a lot of like weird graphics glitches and physics glitches and stuff like that. And still, even with a year of time between the itch and Steam launch, there was issues. There was one issue specifically where people were getting black screens when they were loading the game, and I was like, what the hell? I got this report from multiple people. They would load the game and there would just be a black screen. And I realized that the way that it worked is if you pause the game, it sets the time scale to 0. So like it stops time in the game, and that worked great for most solutions, right? And then when you unpause the game, it set the time scale back to 1.0 and it'd be fine. But the levels also faded in, so I had this like black sprite over at the top of the levels that would fade in the level to make it more interesting and, you know, just look better. But it also saved at the beginning of every level. So if you happen to pause the game at the exact second the level started, right before the game auto-saved, your save file would save the fact that the time scale was 0, and then you would load into a game with a black screen because the level hadn't fully faded in yet, and none of the other code that checked for that kind of thing would run because the time scale was 0, and so anything that relied on timing wouldn't run. And it was a super simple fix once I knew what it was, but finding it was like crazy. And that's one of those things that, like, I tested the game 1,000 times. I had a bunch of testers. Go through it on the itch version. I had a bunch of testers go through it on the Steam version. And there was no way that we ever could have found that, because testers aren't always thinking of like, okay, well, what if I try to pause it the exact second a level starts? Like, that's not, it just happens in play. And like, what I realized was like, people were playing this game and they're playing a really stressful level, and then they finally beat the level and it would go to the next level and they would hit escape, be like, oh, okay, I need to rest now because the game was so stressful, right? So you can never tell, and you always want to set up a bunch of time after a launch and include that in like the launch time, right? As bug fixing, maintenance, repair, whatever. There's going to be a lot of like little issues if you haven't launched a game that you're just going to suddenly become aware of because more people are playing your thing, hopefully. And I think a couple weeks is fine. I would schedule a couple weeks, but I think realistically you could, I mean, depending on how much you test, you can probably have a mostly stable game. Again, depending on your time scale. For Philophobia, it was probably a week of work of like all the little issues, and most of them weren't game breaking issues. The black screen was the biggest one. The original Philophobia though, went on itch version. Let me tell you, that game shipped with a game breaking bug because I was working on it up until like an hour before launch, which is a horrible idea, but I did it. And because I had to, because like I don't have a choice. This game is launching, and like but I didn't have time to fully go through all the thing. And the fourth boss there was a bug where when you beat him, nothing would happen, and like the wall wouldn't break down, it wouldn't go to the next level. It was just a hard lock on the game. So the game was actually unbeatable. So while some people from my community were streaming the game, I noticed the bug. And so I had to ship a patch for the bug, and I had to tell some streamers to like, hey, download the patch. And then I realized that when I tested the bug, I tested it with my invincibility mode on, and I shipped the patch with the invincibility mode on, so everybody got invincibility in their game. And then I was like, oh shit, now I have to make another patch to fix my patch. And it was just everything's on fire, and it was ridiculous. Okay, that's how game launches go. Admittedly, the itch launch I was completely unprepared for that. I had never launched a like commercial project. I had never even worked on a project that had taken me that long before. That was just a large amount of time investment, right? So like there was a bunch of issues there, but you never know. You never know. That's the point of the story, is like you never know. There's something somewhere that's going to go wrong with some PC configurations, some user behavior, something that is only going to show up in volume, and you never really know. And you should always have extra time at launch, because you don't know what's going to come up. So don't schedule your vacation the day after you launch a game. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because that's asking for craziness, and you don't want to make that happen. So that's all I got for you. Just that quick message. I want to say thank you to these people right here. They help me keep doing what I'm doing. They're awesome. Let's look at their names. They're pretty awesome. If you want your name on this list, you can head over to patreon.com/GameDeveUnderground. There's tools, training, and technology there to help you build, finish, and launch better games. That's a cool spot. I'd like to hang out there. I happen to be a fan. If you want to join a community of game developers all around the world, you can head over to our Discord link, which is down below as well, and you can hang out with us there. My name is Tim Roswick, and I will see you again later.